Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. It is a bit of a special episode because it's Lorenzo Insigne's last game for Napoli in Naples. Obviously, he's got one more to do with the team. We have Spezia as the final game of the season, but this was his last time in Naples in front of the crowd playing a Serie A game. And he's had an amazing career for Napoli. 122 goals now, second all-time top scorer, over 90 assists, and he's been the history of this club and a very important part of Napoli's history. Napoli is going to be 100 years old in a few years, and yes, we've had the Maradona days, but right after that comes these last 10 years, and Lorenzo Insigne has been the symbol of this team for these 10 years. 10 years where Napoli has played European football every single season. 10 years where we've challenged for the title more often than not. 10 years where so many things happened. Football modernized itself in such a crazy scale, and yet Napoli was still there as a top club, has a family-run business with a captain who was the boyhood, well, he was the hometown kid. In a time when football is evolving, and Insigne was our guy. Insigne was our guy, and he was from Naples, and it's a super important part of Napoli's history that he was a part of. And whilst he's not had the best season, and I'm the first to have criticized his performances, and whilst maybe not everybody agrees with his decision to go to Toronto, you can't forget the last 10 years, what he gave in terms of goals and assists. He's been involved in one every 4 goals that Napoli has scored in the last 10 years. You can't deny the impact that he's had, the legacy that he will have and continue to have. And I just wish him the best. Obviously, I'm still disappointed that he's leaving. I'm still angered by it. I still don't fully maybe accept the fact that he'd leave so early in his career, but there's very good reasons for him to leave. You got to respect it. And at the end of the day, there's just one regret, and that's that we didn't win a title. If we had won the title, then maybe there would be absolutely no disappointment in him leaving. But the disappointment is more for him, because this was his last chance. Napoli will stay. We will try again with or without Insigne. It's more about him and about was he gonna win this year, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So the disappointment is actually more for Insigne than for myself or anything. That's what I have to say on Insigne. I'd love to get your chat, or I'd love to get your comments in the chat about Insigne, about his time at the club, his performance today. I thought today actually was one of his best performances. He was skipping past players, defending. He was on the 85th minute, a minute before being substituted. He was chasing down a Genoa striker when Napoli was winning 3-0. And he was the last man for Napoli, chasing down that striker. And if that doesn't show how much he loved the club, then nothing will, right? I think that's the Insigne personified in one screenshot, which I'll show later. So he's just a fantastic player for us, fantastic human being. It's not easy to. They say it's not easy to be a prophet in your own country. It's people, there's almost a bit of jealousy when you're the one that makes it. And so I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people in Naples have criticized him a bit. There's definitely an element of jealousy there. And obviously, another reason is that because he was from Naples, people expected more from him, but he's a human just like all the other players. He can't give more than what he's doing. And he has his limits. He's not Diego. He's not the highest level of player. He's just Lorenzo Insigne, and unfortunately he wasn't always accepted for what he was. But he got unfairly treated at times. I hope I didn't treat him unfairly. I hope when I gave him a negative score at times, I hope I was being objective and it was just purely based on his performance, and there was none of that other layers involved. But I think those factors did contribute to his at times very difficult relationship with the Napoli fans. Anyways, that's done now. Kind of one game to go still. But it's great that he managed to score. He got a huge trophy handed to him at the start of the game. I think it might be taller than him. And then he got a lap of honor at the end of the game. And it's very nice to see that, because when Hamsik left, we didn't get to have that with Hamsik. And then I know that he came back at some later point, but it wasn't during the game. It was all of a sudden. At least with Insigne, we had 6 months to prepare for this. And we gave him a good send-off in the end of the day. So he scored as well, which is brilliant. The penalty, which he missed, and then the ref had him retake it, which I don't know if we would have had that penalty retaken if it wasn't Insigne's last day, but I'll take it. That's the one time I'll be happy with Napoli scoring from a penalty off a rebound and actually then getting it retaken. Overall, just a very emotional day for everyone. I think all of you must have gotten emotional at some point in today's game. I know I have. And I would just wish Insigne all the best, and I'm sure he'll do amazing stuff in Canada and in the MLS. He's too good for that league, and I'm excited for him. I'm excited for him being the star of the American continent. I'm excited for how he will just destroy the competition there, and all the clips we'll see, and just getting all the American fans and Canadian fans excited about Insigne. Who knows if that might help Napoli's reputation abroad, because they'll have to look into the stuff that he's done in his past, and obviously we're his past, still present, but you get what I mean. So let's see, a lot of you in the chat, say hi. If you're in the chat, smash that like button, because it makes me happy. It'll make you feel better, and I do donate 1 cent for every like and sub to the Fondazione Cannavaro Ferrara, which is to help children in Naples. So make sure you are smashing that like button. And a lot of you guys in the chat already. Anthony, ID Beats, Paul Vives Escobar, we've got Francesco, Fabrizio, ciao Fabrizio, 11 years with Insigne, thank you. He says, he's been there every Sunday, like think about where you guys were 11 years ago. So what's that, 2011 now? Think about what you were doing 11 years ago. Some of you maybe were not even following football. Some of you maybe were in school. Some of you, I don't know. But think about how much has changed in your life in 11 years. And Insigne was just there every single time, every single Sunday, playing for Napoli. He was the one constant in these 11 years. And it's just not something that you see in modern football very much. So, definitely respect to Insigne. It's going to feel strange next season not seeing his face before a game, but it happens, guys. I think it's the right year for him to move on because I think he was on the decline. So, it's very difficult to start benching a player of his stature, of his importance, and it sours the relationship. What Hamsik, he was at in his last year and a half, he was put on the bench quite a lot. He wasn't happy. It wasn't a very nice thing. At least Insigne got to live his last year playing every single minute of every single game as a protagonist. Maybe not his best form, but at least he was a protagonist in every game. And that's what you want. You want to end on a high when you leave a club. And Insigne deserved that. He didn't deserve to spend half the season on the bench. So I think this was the right year to move on. But yeah, it's sad. Mike Harstad with the $2 donation. Thank you, Mike, so much for that. Forza Napoli sempre from Minnesota. So Mike's going to be one of those guys that is going to have Insigne a bit closer to home. ID Beats is saying, what a farewell from Makui, true Napoli legend indeed. So there's a few players that are obviously, this was also their last game in Naples. You're thinking about Makui, you're thinking about Petagna, you're thinking about possibly Meret, possibly the more important ones like Fabian Ruiz, Dries Mertens, Koulibaly. What's going to happen with them? But the fact that there wasn't, for example, a send-off for Dries Mertens, and Dries Mertens is approaching the end of his contract, it suggests that 99.99999% for sure he's going to stay with Napoli. Otherwise, they would have decided by now, and they would have had a send-off for Mertens as well, because Mertens deserves it just as much as Insigne. When it comes to other players, such as Koulibaly, who would, if he leaves, he would also deserve a send-off. But when it comes to players like that, who still have a few years in their contracts, obviously you can't have a send-off at the end of every season in case he gets sold. But the fact that Mertens is out of contract end of the season and we didn't say goodbye to him means that he is staying. I'm convinced about that. Let's see. Let's get some more comments. IDB saying, what a player Insigne has been for us. Loved Lobotka's first as well. Immediately kissing the badge. Yeah, it's crazy. I did not expect that from Lobotka, kissing the Napoli badge. Caps off his absolutely fantastic first season. Not his first, it's like his third season, but his first real season. He's going to become our Brozovic next season. Yeah, he does have a bit of epic Brozo in him, doesn't he? Anthony Navarro saying, great team performance overall. Lobotka with that lovely finish for his first Serie goal to cap off his great season for us. Thank you, Lorenzo, for the wonderful, memorable career. I do wish it ended with a Scudetto or at some point got in a Scudetto, but it is what it is. Lusty OG says, great game to watch. Blue Line says, thanks to Insigne for Insigne for everything he has done for Napoli. And Uncle Sharma says, goodbye, Pensigne. We will miss your penalties. He's gotten a lot of penalty goals this year. He's obviously missed a few as well. If we can get someone that can take penalties a bit more consistently next year, then that could be a huge thing for Napoli. Like Insigne, he's missed a few. We're definitely not losing a penalty specialist, that's for sure. We're just losing our penalty taker, but not a specialist. Payman Darkar with the £449 donation. Thank you so much, Payman. Grazie Capitano. We will miss him. I wonder how we look next year. We will look fabulous. We'll look fabulous. We will have a nice blue kit. We will have Kvara on the left, Lozano on the right, Osimhen up top, maybe. Mertens behind. And hopefully Koulibaly in the back, hopefully Ospina in goal. And then, whatever happens, right? I mean, this is a team that finished third now. We're officially third. And the gap to 5th spot is huge. If we take a look at the table, guys, I mean, it's crazy to think how much we've actually improved compared relative to other teams. So maybe not in terms of points, but you can't compare points between one season and the other, because the level of the teams around you has also changed. So you've got to compare your relative position compared to people, and the gap between us and 5th spot Lazio is huge. We are sitting 14 points ahead of 5th, which is where we were last season. 14 points is massive. I know Gattuso reached more or less the same number of points as we did this year, but as I said, this year the total level of the competition is different from last year, so you can't compare that one-to-one. You've got to compare relative position. And relative position, we were 5th last year, now 5th place team at 62 points. We've got 76. Huge improvement, and that's what you want to see. So yes, I'm disappointed we didn't win the title, but you don't win titles in 1 year. Klopp took over Liverpool. He finished 8th his first season, and it's a slow process. He didn't go and win the Premier League in his second season or his third. It takes time, but as long as you're improving, as long as you're going in the right direction, that's what you want from a team. That's all you can hope for. If you keep going in the right direction, then hopefully you're going to get to that objective. And there's teams that have gone backwards, and Napoli is one of the few that actually has gone forward, in my opinion, compared to last season. But yes, let's take a look at some more comments. Lobotka with the best Insigne send-off gift. Uncle Sharma loves the term Insigne, which I gave to him, actually. Could be farewell for Demme and Fabian as well, says ID Beats. I think Demme will go. Goulam's last game for sure. It's sad that Goulam didn't have the career that he probably deserved if it wasn't for injuries. V.H is saying, Dom, who's going to be our penalty taker next season if Mertens doesn't play? I think the next obvious candidate is Osimhen. Osimhen took them when he was at Lille. He's a goal scorer. It would boost his stats tremendously, which means it would boost his resale price in case Napoli wants to sell him later on. One thing is saying I've got 20 goals, and one thing is saying I've got 30 if you start taking penalties. And you'll say, oh yeah, but who cares that he got an extra 10 goals with penalties? Well, the team that might want to buy him might care about the fact that he's good at penalties. So it's not a useless thing being able to be good at penalties and having a proven track record of it. So I'm pretty sure it would be Osimhen. It's in the club's interest. A goal, an extra goal every 2 or 3 games off a penalty would boost the player's morale. There'd be so much less pressure on him if he goes through a streak of 3-4 games of not scoring. You get a penalty, all of a sudden you break that streak instead of extending it. Definitely Osimhen, I would say. I'm just glad that we'll have a new free kick taker, because Insigne has not done that well with free kicks, and yet somehow he's always there trying to take free kicks, and his record's not great. It's a bit like Ronaldo. I don't know why Ronaldo goes and takes free kicks. It's literally like 1 every 100 that he'll score. Anyways, I don't want to criticize Insigne today. I don't want to do that. The most memorable Insigne goal for me is the one against Liverpool in the 90th minute, says ID Beats. For me, there's 3. There's the Real Madrid Napoli game where Insigne scores a goal, and the amazing thing about that Insigne goal against Real Madrid is that he takes the shot, and at no point do you actually see the ball go into the net. Like, he's already scored, and then you see the ball going to the, because the cameraman just doesn't realize that Insigne's taken a shot, and he's trying to follow the ball, and Insigne's already out there celebrating. It's an absolutely incredible goal. You're thinking, where's this ball going? And then it's a goal. It's an incredible goal, the one that he did against Real Madrid. The stakes were so high at the Bernabeu. Obviously, the game didn't go the way we wanted it, but that was an incredible goal. Then there's the one against Borussia Dortmund, the one in 2012, his first Champions League goal on his debut. Free kick, actually. And the keeper broke his tooth trying to save it. That was incredible. And I think at that point, you start thinking, so it's 2012, 10 years ago. He's 20 years old at the time. You start thinking, we have something very, 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 very special in our team. Maybe more unique than rare, like really one of a kind. And unfortunately, Insigne didn't stay at that level, I would say, or never reached the level that maybe we thought he would reach. Like we really thought he'd be like Messi level or very close. Instead, he ended up being a very, very, very good player, just not that final step to be in the Hall of Fame, right? But as I said, you can't expect. That's just him. He's still having a very, 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 very good player in your team for 10 years is incredible. And then maybe the one that I like the most is the one against Fiorentina. I think it was Fiorentina Napoli, and it was just such an unreal goal from outside the box. Special goal. Paul Dericane is saying, great game, best luck to Insigne, and hope we can keep all the big players outside of Ruiz for future. I'd hate to lose much character all at once. Let's hope. There's definitely a few players that I hope we don't sell. Ospina, our back four, Anguissa, Demme, Osimhen, Mertens. If we sell Politano, if we sell Lozano, if we sell Elmas, if we sell Fabian Ruiz, because it's his last year in his contract, and I'd rather sell him for a bit of money than lose him for free. If we sell, who am I missing in the team? Demme, I'd be okay with those as long as they get replaced, and I'm sure that they can be replaced. They are not super unique players. But if we lose one of the other guys that I mentioned at the start, then we're kind of screwed. We're kind of screwed because I think they've been very, very good for us, most of the players. I think, 7 out of the 11 players that we start with today, it'd be a shame, like a real, real shame if we lost them because they are very, very hard to replace in the summer transfer market for the budget that we have. But, maybe 2 or 3 I'd be okay with. Let's see some more comments before we go on to the analysis of the game. Farewell legend Lorenzo Insigne, Forza Napoli, says Wale Moose or Whale Moose. Hazuki saying, wouldn't Sirigu be a good option for 1 or 2 seasons in case Ospina won't resign? No, I think Sirigu's a bit finished. He obviously made some good saves today, but I think we should try to go for a keeper that is in his maybe late 20s, not so much early 20s, because I think a keeper is someone that needs to have experience. I think that's the one role in football where experience is so important. You need to have wide shoulders and a lot of experience, and you want someone a bit older. Like we've seen what the lack of experience has done to Meret. He's crumbled psychologically. He's a very good keeper, but he's crumbled psychologically. Something that wouldn't have happened to Ospina after 1 or 2 mistakes. So, someone in his late 20s, early 30s, but not someone like Sirigu who's nearing retirement, because I think we need someone to build a project on. You want someone there for the next 3, 4, 5 years, not just for 1 or 2. Sasha saying Satesim, go Forza Napoli, coming from New York City. Cosa ne pensi di Insigne, says Oreste Fuschino. Penso che Insigne abbia fatto una carriera super importante col Napoli, e poi niente, ha preso una sua decisione e va rispettata, ma ci mancherà e comunque l'ho detto all'inizio quello che penso, quindi per non ripetermi troppo non lo farò, ma è triste vederlo partire e niente, comunque ci sono altri giocatori che arriveranno, Kvara, eccetera, che sono più freschi, più giovani, che ci possono dare una mano, perché Insigne quest'anno non ha reso, onestamente. Quindi dispiace, però è arrivato il momento. So, yeah. Um, Cannavaro, what do you think about? He says, well, I have a whole video on Cannavaro, so I'm not gonna speak too much about Cannavaro because Cannavaro is an interesting player. He dribbles a lot. He's very talented. We have to see how he is in Italy. Let's see. I'm not gonna hype him up more than I've done in the video. If you want to know what I think about him, then you should check out that video. He's a different player compared to Insigne. He's more physical, more one against one. Insigne, what we'll miss from him is the creativity, the defensive mindset that he has, and it's one of the things that we'll see today in the analysis. The defensive ability of Insigne, which I think no one else has as a striker, maybe in all of Europe. I think Insigne in all of Europe is the one that is the most defensive-minded striker. Like, he's very aware of his duties defensively. What do you think of Gaetano? Gaetano has a fantastic season in Serie B with Cremonese, and I think he can easily replace them. So Gaetano's played as a defensive midfielder, a more attacking midfielder, una mezzala, which is, I don't know how to say it in English, mezzala, but it's when you're playing three in the middle, it's on the sides, so not a winger, but not a central player. He's played every single role in the midfield, and I think he's the perfect replacement for Demme, because all you want from Gaetano is someone that can play all the Coppa Italia games and come to help the team as a substitute. But we don't need a starting 11 player in midfield. We already have Anguissa, Lobotka, and maybe also Fabian. So Demme as a Gaetano as a third or fourth choice, perfect. Neapolitan as well, we need a bit of that in the team. I think that's perfect for us if he comes back from loan. Vittorio Angrisano, se avesse potuto forse, sarebbe rimasto anche con pochi soldi, ma siccome una Lutam ha seguito il dio denaro, complimenti per la live, sei un grande. Una domanda, ma Politano. So Vittorio is saying if he didn't care about money, he would have left. Vittorio, sono tanti soldi, 16 milioni all'anno, so 16 million a year is a lot of money to refuse, and he's already given us 10 years of his life. So that's more than so many Neapolitan players. Like, there's players that are born in Naples that because of 1 or 2 million never agreed to join Napoli. Insigne at least gave us 10 years, so I wouldn't go so hard on him. Politano, I don't know why he didn't play today. Non so Politano perché non abbia giocato. Politano didn't play. I think his future is very much in doubt. I'm not sure which team might want to buy Politano, so he might stay. But he's not a focal point of the project. You know, if a team does ask for Politano for 15 million, I think Napoli would sell him. Let's go into, guys, the analysis of the game before we go on to the player ratings. So, first off, this photo here, I die when I see it, because why? Why are they holding hands? This is so unnecessary, and just I don't know. Why does De Laurentiis try to make things a thing? Like him and Lorenzo Insigne being lovey-dovey with each other, it's just not a thing. Stop trying to make it a thing. But yeah, I mean, he loves his cinema. And then this is Insigne and Mertens celebrating. So this says 433 appearances that have richened the history of Napoli with generosity and passion. Thank you, Captain. And in this photo, you see Napoli's two highest goal scorers, Dries Mertens and Lorenzo Insigne, with 122 goals, more than Marek Hamsik now. So, an incredible photo. This one here. You've got Di Lorenzo over there as well, who's obviously a fan favorite. And then, all the people behind him, De Laurentiis and all that. And it's so nice that the stadium was so packed. And, guys, the nice thing about the stadium today is that there were so many children. So many young people at the stadium. And, I don't know, it just reminded me of when I used to go. And that's the beauty of football. It's literally just meant to be for children, and then we become a little bit too obsessed with it as adults as well. But it's for the children, and it's so nice that the stadium was packed with them today. And hopefully we get more of that. Honestly, that's what I want to see personally. Anyways, analysis of the game. Let's actually get one more comment, a few more comments before I start. Do you think any youth player or players out on loan will find space next season? Yes, I think Gaetano will find space. I'm not sure about the others. I really hope Vergara gets given a chance. Vergara is such a good player. And Ambrosino, maybe as a backup as a replacement to Petagna. Maybe Ambrosino, I don't know. Politano has had a really bad year. I don't know if it's the coach, this formation, or just a bad year. I think everything, and I think also mentally it was very tough after not being in the Euro squad, and the Euro squad won the Euros. I think it was tough for him to recover mentally. Ma sì, tutti a criticare Insigne, ma che è sempre stato il capro espiatorio di tutto, che si è preso una marea di insulti ad ogni giocata sbagliata, nessuno lo dice, poi vorrei vedere voi rifiutare 10 milioni l'anno. Yeah, so Massi is saying obviously that Insigne was the scapegoat of every situation, and he was being criticized every single time, and every time he made a mistake people would attack him, but at the end of the day, what he's saying is that we would have all chosen 10 million a year extra, and I think that's true. And I think we expect that's part of it. Goes back to the problem of us Napoli fans expecting so much from Insigne, but Insigne is just human. I would love to play for Napoli, but let's be honest, if I had already played 10 years with Napoli and someone tells me you can get 10 million more every year after this, of course I would leave. Of course. If instead you told me you haven't yet played for Napoli and you've got a chance, then I wouldn't consider money, because my dream would be to play for Napoli no matter what the money. But if I've already done 10 years of that, I've already accomplished that, then of course the money becomes a more important factor. So you can't criticize Insigne or Insigne's decision. You can be disappointed by it, but you can't criticize it. So I agree with Massi. Kids around me love the game. Arrived shouting Forza Napoli sempre, says Seas. That's good. ID says most memorable Insigne goal is the Liverpool 90, like you said, or the Champions League goal versus Dortmund. I agree. Anyways, guys, going to the game. This was a very important game for Genoa. Genoa needed to win to stay in the Serie A. So there was a risk today that Genoa would win, because they had so much more motivation than Napoli. Napoli entered this game like, oh, it's we could have entered the game like, oh, it's just a party for Insigne. So we were very, very good to stay concentrated, and you can see Genoa's desire to win the game in the first few minutes. Look at how much desire the striker has to score a goal. He is 10 meters offside because in his head he's just thinking, I gotta score, and he's not even thinking about offside anymore. You know, that's the crazy things that emotions do to someone. You know, you just forget that there's rules and you can't be that far offside. But it shows the mindset that Genoa were in, that they needed to score. They had this frenzy to score, and we did well to not concede a goal because of that. Insigne had a very good shot. I mean, Insigne, if he pulled this off in the first half, it would have been one of his nicest goals for Napoli. And then I want to highlight Mario Rui. Mario Rui, when it was 0-0, really saved Napoli. He, from the left-hand side, at the top of your screen, he came down all the way to the right to block this shot. Mario Rui this season has been phenomenal. Phenomenal this season. His weakness last season was that he would switch off. This season, he is one of the most concentrated players in the team. Not only for the dangers in his area, but the dangers on the right-hand side of the field. That's amazing defending by Mario Rui. And it shows that Napoli are a team that honored this game, honored the end of the season. Even though we are not winning the Scudetto, they still went out there and they performed and they defended, and they didn't just do their job, but they helped each other out. Mario Rui here is helping out Koulibaly and Rahmani and Di Lorenzo on the other side of the defense. So congrats to Mario Rui, and that's the right attitude to build on from next season. Now we get to the goal, and the goal is a very interesting piece of play by Napoli, because Genoa were sitting as a low block. A low block simply means so you get a very tight back four, so they not stretched out, very tight, so that the strikers don't have a lot of room in between the central defenders, and you get a very close midfield to the back four. And it's very difficult from Rahmani's position to pass the ball to Mertens, or pass the ball to Lozano, or pass the ball to Osimhen. You can only do that if you have a player in the middle, because even if you get the ball in there, even if Rahmani gets the ball in there, a player like Lozano does not have the ball control to turn around and do something with it. So when a team is positioned like Genoa, unless you have Phil Foden in the middle, unless you have Lionel Messi, unless you have Paulo Dybala, unless you have Dries Mertens, you can't really pass the ball in there, because if you give it to Lozano, he's going to lose it. Obviously, we do have Dries Mertens in there, but it's very difficult because you can have Dries Mertens, but then you have to remember you have Rahmani on the ball. It's very risky for Rahmani to play that pass because his passing accuracy is not the passing accuracy of Gerard Piqué. It's just Rahmani. So, what does Napoli need to do to score a goal from this situation? We need to, because we cannot go central, we need to go wide. To make space wide, Lozano comes inside of that area. Coming inside that area, it forces the defensive block to stay in that position. They cannot go and cover Di Lorenzo, because then they get larger, and then Lozano is free to receive the ball and turn around. They have to stay tight. So it's a bit like chess. They sacrifice the wide area. Di Lorenzo gets the ball, and at that point he's got the space and the time to get a good cross in. And this is why it's important to have a player like Osimhen in the team, because when you cross the ball, Osimhen is going to get to the ball. And we need to use this tactic much more often. We need to make space for Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo needs to cross the ball. Osimhen needs to go there with his header because he is one of the best in the Serie A. And he goes there and scores. So this was very, 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 very nice football by Napoli. A lot of thought goes into this goal. I think some people just see this goal as pass and cross and header. Very simple goal. It's not. There's a lot of thought process that goes into why Rahmani passes to Di Lorenzo and why Di Lorenzo is free in the first place to receive the ball and why he has so much space. And that's the only way, or one of the only ways, you can beat a team that plays a low defensive block. So that's a bit of tactic. And then Insigne did this. Insigne he produced some of the skill of the season. Sombrero to the first guy, sombrero to the next guy, and then if he scored here, oh my God, the stadium would have erupted. The stadium. Instead, Sirigu saved it. Very, very tight angle. But that would have been a goal of the season. He had another chance here and it went wide. And he just wanted the ball today. Like, he was so desperate to touch the ball as many times as possible. There was this moment in the 45th minute where he was just following the ball in all these areas of the field. You could really he went from the left to the middle to the right to the defense to here to there. He had no position. He just wanted to be the closest person to whoever had the ball, which is maybe not the best thing to do tactically, and also with regards to just energy management. But this game was not about energy management for Insigne. I think he was working off adrenaline anyways. So he just wanted the ball. He just wanted to participate as much as possible, and I love that from him. Vesavis is saying, I don't criticize Insigne for leaving. I'd even say he was right to do so. But signing a pre-contract plus keeping the armband plus taking every penalty badly, just for his personal record, in my opinion, he's shown to be a selfish player or selfish person who, when push comes to shove, thinks about himself long before the team. I also agree with that. See, this is complex, guys. It's not so simple. It's not he was a good person or he was a bad person. He was a good player or he was a bad player. He was a good captain or he was a bad captain. There's so many levels to this. I also agree with that. I didn't like that he signed midway through the season. I didn't like that he popped champagne before the Juventus game. I didn't like any of that. So, is he perfect? No. It's, as I said before, he's a human being who, gave 10 years, but also thought about himself a lot. I just think that at the end of the day, and today is the end of the day, when you summarize everything, not just this year, from the start of his career, when you summarize everything, you just have to respect the fact that he's been involved in 1 every 4 goals for Napoli in the last 10 years. And gave us, some bad moments and some frustrating moments and cost us some titles, but also he gave us some good moments. And you just respect the person, There's no point in even being angry. There's no point. So yeah, I mean, I also don't criticize you if you are. It goes both ways. He's always been a very alienating person. So yeah, I can see both sides to it. Oreste è un campionato così equilibrato che non c'era la più forte, non lo vedremo mai più. So he's saying a championship that was so balanced where we didn't have an outright the best team, we will never see it again. So this was our best opportunity. Maybe. I feel like we've said it other years before. We've said it other times. Maybe this time it's actually true. Maybe it's a bit more true this time. But as I said, it's also the first year of Spalletti. I go back to Pioli. How many years did it take him? Now he's going to probably win. But it's his third season. Conte with Inter. 2 seasons. Klopp with Liverpool. 4 or 5 seasons. Like, guys, unless you have Real Madrid, then yes, you can be Ancelotti first year and you win. Fine, but you have Real Madrid. We don't have Real Madrid. We are Napoli. If we are going to win the title, we need to build something. Even Sarri, 91 points. Not his first season. It was his third season. It's a project that you have to build. So, yes, it's a wasted opportunity, but realistically, we shouldn't have even been thinking about a title in Spalletti's first year. And it's unfair to criticize him for not winning on his first year. You can be disappointed, but you shouldn't be angry, is my opinion. But as I said, it's my opinion, so I could be wrong. Like, everybody has their own. But I'm just saying, statistically speaking, winning in your first season doesn't happen unless you have already an elite team. So, yeah. Sahil is saying, ciao Dom. Ciao Sahil. Nice to have you here. And then we get to Insigne's penalty. So you can tell here he's very emotional. He does all sorts of facial expressions. And then he hits the post. Goes to Di Lorenzo scores. Then you get the ref that he's actually saying to people, make sure you stay on the line or on the edge of the box. You can see from his hand. Instead, you've got a bunch of players in the box. So then Insigne had to repeat it, thankfully, and he scores. I'm not sure if they would have let him repeat it if it wasn't his last game of the season, but we'll take it. And you know, he's obviously very emotional, and that's how much it means to him. And yeah, even after he scored, you know, he's high-fiving everyone, but you can tell he's got the tears in his eyes, and you know, the last 6 months have just been pure emotions with Insigne, you know, whether those are frustrating, negative, positive, whatever. It's just every time he's on the field, he's playing with so much emotion. It's incredible. Like, the toll that this year must have had on him emotionally must have been huge. But then again, he is getting $16 million next year to make up for it. So I'm sure if you got an extra wrinkle or two, there's some good skincare stuff that you can do for $16 million a year. And then we get to, I think, the nicest goal of the week, which is Lobotka's run from midfield, runs past a few players. He knows he doesn't need to dribble past players. He just needs to beat them with the tempo, and he needs to make them believe that he will pass the ball to other people, and then it will open up spaces for him. And he gets to the edge of the box and has a shot, and he kisses the badge, which is great to see that Lobotka, what he thinks about Napoli. And then we get to this point here in the game, the 86th minute, where Insigne there's a counter attack for Genoa off a corner, and Insigne is the last person to try to block that, which is just an incredible moment in the game, I think. And if there's one thing you want as your final game of the season as a striker, the next best thing from scoring a goal, I think, is this: being the last defender. Because I don't think many strikers can say that. I don't think many strikers have that in their CV, that they did this in the 86th minute in their last game of the season. So yeah, congrats to Insigne. And then he gets substituted a minute later with a full crowd, and I just wish him the best. And here are the player ratings for this game. So Insigne, with the Toronto badge, as he's had since January, he gets a 10. He gets a 10 because I think he actually I think he deserves the 10 in this game. Well, no, he doesn't. He doesn't deserve a 10. But he deserves a 10 for his career at Napoli, for his just the amount of effort he's put in. Maybe his output could have been a little more, for sure, but effort was there, and whatever. Last game at Maradona, he could have scored an own goal, and I would have given him a 10. So it is what it is. Realistically, it would have been like a 7.5. Osimhen gets a 7.5. Lobotka a 7.5. Both of them scored some very, very nice goals. Everybody else pretty much gets a 7 in the team. I thought they were really good. Ospina made some good saves. Di Lorenzo assists. Mairo Rui, very good defensively. Anguissa and Fabian dominated the midfield. Anguissa, I think, had one of his best performances in recent months. And then the substitutes came on, but at that point the game was already over. Zielinski is not able to... I don't know, he's a bit spento in Italian. He's a bit like the lights dimmed, like he's this light bulb, and it's not, the light's not out, it's not broken, but it's very dimmed. Like you feel like you need to replace it. He needs to recharge his batteries or something. So I don't know what's going on with Zielinski, but I think the summer he needs to refresh. He needs to understand that if he stays at Napoli, this is really his last season, unless he can show us that he is still a good player. But if he has another season like this, then I think Napoli will have to sell him. But then again, who would want to buy this Zielinski at the moment? So yeah, let's see some comments. Lou C is saying, well, Champions League money and hopefully some new top players to reinforce the team. I hope so. I think we are well overdue a few replacements, and I'm pretty sure that we have already set aside the money for or part of the money for the left back, which is either Oliveira from Getafe or Hickey from Bologna or Parisi from Empoli. And then obviously Cannavaro, 10 million to replace Insigne. That's already a third or half of the Champions League money there. Antonio Tonti is saying, great farewell home game for our captain. Would have been better if he scored similar to Euro goal. Yeah, 100%. A Tiragiro at the last would have been nice. But I think it's also fitting that he missed the penalty and then scored a penalty, because that's what he did this season. Zielinski not mentally in it for Napoli, in my opinion, since Anthony Navarro. Yeah, I don't know if it's not in it for Napoli or something else, but something's off. Maybe there's a tactical reason more than a mental reason. I don't really know. Osimhen literally tripped over a Mertens lobbed pass, says Pranav Jain. Yeah, but... and he's saying, Mertens created chances and you give him the same rating as Lozano. I thought Lozano was good. And I don't think Mertens was, fantastic today. I thought he was good as well. 6.5 is all right. I wouldn't say they were the best players on the field, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It's also, these ratings are a little bit relative to each player's maximum performance level. Like a Koulibaly 7 versus a Rahmani 7. Like Koulibaly still played slightly better than Rahmani, but it's all relative to that player's maximum potential. You see what I mean? I wouldn't expect, I don't know, like I wouldn't expect Lozano to have the same level, the same scale as Mertens. If they did have the same scale, then I would have to give everybody else like threes, you know, because Mertens is always 10 times better than everyone. So, yeah. Manuel is saying, I'm Cuban and I love Napoli and Insigne. Grazie per tutti, capitano. Grazie per tutto, capitano. But Manuel, nice to have you on the channel from Cuba. Wow, that's amazing. I would love to go to Cuba. So yeah, Insigne, I think is I think he's loved by so many people. You know, he's one of those that are so easy to love, and yeah, I can imagine that he's quite popular. He's like one of the most popular players in like South America and all these, because he's a little Latin as well, right? He shows emotions and all that, and I think that appeals to a lot of people. I'm not trying to be stereotypical. I'm saying it in a good way, by the way, not in a bad way. Anthony Giampolo saying, missed you and been traveling the last 3 weeks or so. Haven't been in Napoli Talk lives lately. Yeah, that reminds me. Sorry, I missed the last Napoli Talk live last weekend. I was in Wales, of all places, and I managed to get a tan, or not. I didn't get a tan. I burned myself so badly in Wales. I am Neapolitan, and I go to Wales and I get burnt by the sun in Wales as a southern Italian. How is that even? How did that happen? Anyways, yeah, that happened. That's why I missed the live last time. I was surfing. Antonio Tonti saying, how does league finish affect placement in Champions League? Not exactly sure what you mean by that, but the Champions League, I think you may be asking like how we get put into the groups in Champions League, and that has to do with your UEFA ranking, which is how well you performed in UEFA competitions. So Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. You get a certain amount of points that you accumulate in 5 years, and that's your score. And then the top 8 teams, the winners of the league get put in the first spot in each group. Then the second spots in each group are the top 8 teams that are ranked that haven't won the league, if that makes sense, and then it goes on and on. I explained it horribly. I need a graphic to show you. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that. Anthony Navarro saying, Dom, when the season ends, could you do a player ratings for our whole squad through the season? Of course I will. Of course. Sahil is correct that we are in pot 3 of the Champions League, because, yes, pot 1 is... Let me explain it in pots. That's a better way. There's 4 pots. Pot 1 is the winners of the leagues. The winner in England, Spain, Italy, blah, 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 blah. Pot 2 is the top 8 ranked teams for UEFA outside of the teams in pot 1, and then so on and so forth, pot 3 and pot 4. Foxdrop is saying, if we finish in second over Inter, do we make more money from Serie A? A little bit, but not a lot. Actually, the difference between being first in Serie A and being fourth in Serie A is only like 2 or 3 million. The reason why you want to be in the top 4 is because those 4 teams then get 60 million for going into the Champions League. That's TV rights and all that, and that's before you actually then play the Champions League. Then when you play the Champions League, I feel like every draw you get €1 million or €1.5 million, and every win you get like €3 million, something like that. So that's the key differentiator. Whether you finish first, second, third, or fourth doesn't really matter economically. It's not that much of a difference. So guys, we've done formation, we've done the analysis. Let's quickly take a look at the match stats, even though I think it's very clear that Napoli dominated, 67% possession, more than twice the number of passes, really good pass accuracy, and just dominated. There's really no point in looking at the stats when the score is 3-0, but we do it anyways. And the last part of the live will be to see what did Spalletti and the gang say about the game. So let's see what he's had to say. I'm sure he must have a lot to say after today. So we've got his press conference here, but also actually Insigne had something to say. So Insigne to the Zone. So this is not Spalletti, this is Insigne. Insigne says, I want to thank all the fans that went to the stadium today to support me as a Neapolitan. This gives me immense joy. With time, the first thing that I will do is come back here. This is my house and I will never forget it. There's so many moments in these 10 years that I remember. I remember all 10 years very clearly. There's been some very good moments, some less good moments, but we've always been united with the fans. The love for this city and the shirt is too big. There's been moments where, however, I've had to make some decisions. Me and the club made this decision. We're happy with it, both me and them. I gave everything. I don't have regrets. The fans today demonstrated the love that they have for me, and I will always carry that within me. I want to say thank you to all the coaches that I've had here in these days. I've heard very nice words coming from people like Benitez, Sarri, Hamsik, Albiol, Reina, Callejon. It means that I did a good job here. I will take that with me. Coaches, players, president, everyone. I will say thank you to everyone. And then they ask him, what will you tell your kids what will you tell your kids about what it's been like to play for Napoli? And he says, I hope that when they grow up, they will still think that I am the dad that that plays for Napoli. And they ask him, would you have loved to finish your career here? And he's saying, right now, I don't want to say any of those things. I took my decision and the club took their decision. We're okay with the decision that has been taken. I just want to enjoy this moment, even though it's going to be very difficult moving on from this. I will come see Napoli in the stadium or in the Curva every time I can because this is my home. That's very, very touching from Insigne, and it points to a very mutual decision, the fact that he's left, both from him and the club. Luciano Spalletti is saying instead there was a very nice atmosphere and a very nice party for Insigne. In the first 20 minutes, we were a little bit on the brakes, and Genoa were very good. They came at us very aggressively, and they didn't let us move the ball outside of the midfield. But then when we managed to do that, we managed to show our quality, and we created some chances. But at the start, we suffered quite a bit. They ask him, what did you tell Insigne? And he says it's clear that with professionals like Insigne, it's always nice coaching them. They're always the first to arrive. Sometimes you can get mad at them, but they understand the situation. They are the type of players that out of nowhere will create a solution for you. They are players like Totti, Baggio, Del Piero, and it's the type of player that every coach would like to have. They ask him, why don't you guys say publicly what the objective for the season is at the start of the season? And Spalletti says it would be too easy like this. There's some teams that are not in the fight for Champions League, but are very good, but also very distant from top four. There's 8 teams that have the potential to be in the top four. With the incredible start of the season that we had, we managed to stay up. And it's disappointing that we were not in the fight for the Scudetto until the very end, but it's wrong to attack this team and cancel what was done, especially at the start of the season. There's remorse, but the team did a very brilliant season. No one has really given us maybe enough praise. And obviously the defeat against Empoli is the one that weighs the most. We had, that's kind of where Napoli blew it. But there's been other games where we won very difficult games, and it doesn't interest anyone. That's not correct. These players came here, they trained every day, and they did a great season. They've been professional and serious and good, and I'm gonna give them the merits that they deserve. And yeah, he's talking about Insigne. He's saying, obviously, I will miss him. It's a decision that I'll have to accept. But we have to go and find now players that will give us the same sort of quality and solutions that Insigne could give us. Mertens is, for example, a type of player that is technically very good and can score goals. During the game, he's just very aware of the situation, and he's at the same levels that he was when he was with Sarri. I think he will stay, and him and the president spoke. But however, there's a lot of money on the line, and but I'm sure that they will come to a conclusion. So that's Spalletti for DAZN. So he says some more things in the presser. He says, let me continue. No, he's basically repeating the same things. Right, so guys, that's everything. I will end the live here. That's Insigne's last game for Napoli at the Maradona. I hope you guys enjoyed the game. Hope you guys enjoyed the live, and see you next week. And as always, guys, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.